It's you. Rock Wind Zhan's eyes stared wide. My god, he was just acting to deal with the Pure Feather family, and he actually managed to capture such a terrifying person. Rock Wind Zhan's eyes gleamed, shouting, Pure Feather Xiong was captured by you too? Right, he's already dead. LuoFeng smiled. Dead? Rock Wind Zhan's expression immediately grew ugly. Pure Feather Xiong was already dead, and this person before him could very well kill him. What to do? Right now his Dantian was destroyed and he had no genetic energy at all, and his soul was completely suppressed by the terrifying spirit energy. Even if he wanted to resist or communicate, there was no way at all. What to do? Rock Wind Zhan's expression was ashen. He was in a complete mess. How can I not be killed? Rock Wind Zhan looked at the black-haired youth before him. Tell me, I'll definitely do it. Give me 10 Blood River crystals and I won't kill you. Luo Feng stood there and smiled. Can you do it? Rock Wind Zhan couldn't help but stare wide-eyed. 10 crystals? Even my big brother wouldn't be able to take out 10 crystals. However, I have one here, I can give it to you as long as you spare my life. Even though his Dantian was destroyed, he wouldn't die because the most important thing for a person was his soul. The soul was fine, the body could recover, and the lost genetic energy could be trained back. No, one isn't enough, you have to give me 10. Luo Feng shook his head. You're playing with me? Rock Wind Zhan was anxious and furious. Right, I'm just playing with you. Luo Feng said indifferently, go and die. Rock Wind Zhan immediately madly roared, save me. His powerful body made his roar sound like the rumbling of thunder. The sound waves crazily rushed out in all directions. However, the strong sound waves were blocked by the invisible telekinesis barrier. The telekinesis barrier formed by the telekinesis barrier prevented any sound from passing through. Struggling, what's the use? Luo Feng slapped Rock Wind Zhan's head. Genetic energy poured into his head, turning it into a paste. Rock Wind Zhan dead. Just what are the Blood River crystals like? Luo Feng's gaze swept past Rock Wind Zhan's corpse, immediately finding the storage equipment on him. Without a bank, almost all the warriors of Blood River continent would place most of their treasures in their storage equipment and carry them with them. Because he was the safest. As long as he didn't die, the treasure wouldn't be lost. If he died, the treasures would be meaningless. Not a bad spatial ring. Luo Feng grabbed the space ring and his spirit energy immediately rushed into it, seeping into it and searching. So rich. It's 10 times richer than the 13 axes. Luo Feng was initially smiling, however the more he searched, the more he frowned. Within the space ring were large amounts of expensive blade coins and precious weapons. There were also large amounts of treasures packed into chests and chests. However, with a simple spirit energy scan, Luo Feng didn't find any Blood River crystals. The appearance of the Blood River crystal was something Luo Feng had seen before in the general knowledge books. That's impossible. Don't tell me it's not on him? Impossible. Luo Feng carefully searched again, especially one of the chests. There were many crystals in that chest. Luo Feng's spirit energy split into thousands of parts, searching within each crystal. Suddenly, a smile appeared on Luo Feng's face. With a flip of his hand, a round black crystal appeared in his palm. Looking at it, Luo Feng shook his head and smiled. This Rock Wind Zhan actually disguised the Blood River crystal and threw it into the chest with large amounts of crystals. Those with weak spirit energy control wouldn't be able to discover it. Chi. The black crystal in his palm was hit by the needle-like spirit energy attack and immediately began to crack. Very quickly, the layer of black crystal was completely broken and the Blood River crystal within was revealed. Blood red. The color of blood, the color of life. This was a triangular-shaped crystal that was completely blood red and faintly translucent. There was an invisible ripple coming from it that made one feel as if it was a heartbeat, pulse after pulse. Blood River crystal. Luo Feng looked at the triangular transparent crystal in his hand and couldn't help but exclaim, how beautiful! Oh. Luo Feng waved his hand and Rock Wind Zhan's body on the ground vanished. Simultaneously, the blood on the ground and the stench of blood in the palace all vanished. Very good, in this short period of time, no one will know that Rock Wind Zhan has already died. Luo Feng smiled. They probably still think that he went somewhere else. When a warrior suddenly went into closed-door training, suddenly disappearing for 1 to 2 years and returning, it was a very normal thing. Even if Rock Wind Zhan was a general, disappearing for 3 to 5 days wouldn't raise any suspicions. So, Luo Feng became a blur and flew out of the window. In an instant he was already 100 kilometers away. The entire palace was silent. The large amount of soldiers, servants and guards within the general's residence didn't even know that their general was already dead. When Luo Feng killed Rock Wind Zhan and acquired the Blood River crystal. Swallow Mound City leader's residence. Come drink. Haha, Junior Rockwind, long time no see and you've already become a leader. I'm really happy. Drink. In the center of the living room, a group of beautiful female dancers were dancing and 3 men were laughing and drinking. One of them was the city leader with the highest authority in Swallow Mound, Rockwind Xiong. The other 2 were dressed in silver gray armor. Senior, I'm just a leader. How can I compare to you? You've entered the Undying Shrine as a special envoy. No matter where you are in the continent, who dares not give you face? Rockwind Xiong laughed loudly. I'm just a runner. The handsome middle-aged man smiled. Senior, why did you and Envoy Mo rush back from the Undying Shrine? Rockwind Xiong asked curiously. The handsome middle-aged man exchanged glances with the other Envoy Mo beside. He said, Brother Rockwind, it's not that we don't want to tell you, it's just that the Undying Shrine has its rules and we don't dare break them. Actually, the main reason we rushed back this time is because of your teacher, the world leader. I can't tell you anything else. Because it's about my teacher, hence I was arranged to come with old Mo. Since we're passing by, of course we have to meet you. The handsome middle-aged man smiled. I miss you too. Rockwind Xiong exclaimed, speaking of which. As Rockwind Xiong was chatting with his two friends, he didn't even know that his brother had already lost his life. 300,000 kilometers away from Swallow Mound, within the wild grass, Luo Feng sat. One blood river crystal. Luo Feng held the crystal and stared at the incomparably mysterious crystal. The first dangerous level mission is to obtain one crystal and the reward is 10,000 points. I can use it to exchange for points or I can absorb it into my body. How do I use it? Without a doubt. Luo Feng smiled. His finger was like a blade, slicing through his left palm. He sliced a wound and fresh blood flowed out. Luo Feng took a deep breath and placed the triangular-shaped crystal on his wound. This was the method of absorbing the crystal described in the books. And during his time in Swallow Mound City, Luo Feng had heard others discussing it. This was something everyone on Blood River Continent knew about. The method was simple but the execution was hard. Is it very hard? Luo Feng looked at his palm. The beautiful and dazzling crystal touched the wound. Especially when the fresh blood touched the crystal, immediately a formless peculiar energy burst forth from the crystal. It was almost like an absolute beast that had been suppressed for a long time fiercely rushed into Luo Feng's body. The originally confident Luo Feng's expression suddenly changed, becoming ferocious. Damn. Luo Feng gritted his teeth. Rumble. An incomparably ferocious willpower descended and entered Luo Feng's consciousness. Kill. Shouts and roars filled the skies within his consciousness. That incomparably ferocious willpower clashed time and time again with Luo Feng's willpower. This was purely a test of willpower. Willpower and consciousness were different. Consciousness depended on the strength of one's spirit energy, while willpower was purely determined by one's beliefs. A student-level willpower could be even more terrifying than a sector lord's willpower. With just this willpower you want to defeat me? Luo Feng's voice resounded within his consciousness. Turn to dust. Rumble. Luo Feng's incomparably strong willpower was like a huge mountain, immediately crushing the willpower that roared at him. While doing so, Luo Feng was curious. Consciousness pressure. They're all consciousness attacks. How can just pure willpower rush into my body? Strains? I'm not good. Rumble. The moment that willpower was crushed by Luo Feng, the true mysterious energy within the crystal exploded. Threads of red threads madly rushed into Luo Feng's body. His body couldn't help but tremble. Luo Feng's facial muscles couldn't help but twitch. His skin would occasionally form a carapace and occasionally break apart with fresh blood. His arms began to expand intensely. Simultaneously, his veins would occasionally become transparent, almost like transparent crystal tubes. Occasionally they would become pure gold. His muscles were constantly changing. Bang. Pain that exceeded the limits. What's going on? Just what's going on with this blood river crystal? Luo Feng roared within. He felt his entire body's temperature reach an unbelievable high, almost like he was about to be burnt to ashes. However, in the blink of an eye, it reached a shocking low temperature so cold that he couldn't even feel his body. Shishi, Luo Feng's 10 fingernails slowly extended, like metal battle knives. Then it rapidly contracted. At the same time the 10 fingers changed at the same time. Even the internal bones were changing. The entire palm became like a hoof's claws and hair slowly grew out. Not just his fingers, even his arms, legs, feet and face were growing black hair. In just a moment Luo Feng had turned into a hairy man. But after a few minutes the hairs quickly shrunk and disappeared. Chi-chi. Black scales appeared on Luo Feng's arms, fingers, legs, feet and even his face. At the same time his entire body became stronger and taller. Just what is the blood river crystal? Oh my god. No matter how strong Luo Feng's imagination was, he didn't expect to encounter such a thing. And the absorption process was still continuing. Night, the wind was like a blade whistling through the endless wilderness. The grass was low and his silhouette could be seen. His robe was already torn and tattered. However, under the tattered cloth was a powerful body with white energy revolving around it. Inhale. Luo Feng sat cross-legged and took a deep breath. His chest caved in and his stomach bulged out, almost like a huge balloon in his stomach. After which, the balloon slowly moved upwards. His stomach caved in and his chest bulged out. After which, the huge bulge split into 4 parts and moved towards his arms and legs. His skin caved in and bulged out. It was extremely peculiar. Cool. Luo Feng let out a long breath and opened his eyes. I finally made it through. Luo Feng was shocked. No matter how much pain his body felt, Luo Feng could easily endure it. However, the feeling of absorbing the crystal was something he really didn't like. Because other than the extreme pain, the most annoying thing was, Luo Feng realized that his soul and consciousness couldn't control his body. Losing control of his body, such a feeling was something he had never felt before. No matter what, that annoying feeling is finally over. Luo Feng tore off his tattered clothes and carefully looked at his body. No matter how he looked, at least from the outside, there weren't any changes compared to before he absorbed the crystal. The scene of his body constantly changing after absorbing the crystal seemed to have never happened before. It shouldn't be. Luo Feng frowned. Let's test it. Luo Feng gazed into the distance. Spirit energy. Rumble, in the distant wilderness, a huge mountain of land that weighed at least 10 million tons floated up. Moreover, the soil and sand were completely enveloped by spirit energy, not leaking out at all. Under Luo Feng's control, the mountain began to fly continuously in mid-air, following a circular trajectory. There's no difference. Permeability, void, flexibility, toughness. My spirit energy is no different from before. My willpower and consciousness haven't changed either. Luo Feng shook his head. In the night sky, the spinning mountain fell from the sky and smashed into the huge pit he dug earlier. My soul isn't affected, is it my body? Luo Feng frowned and suddenly punched out. Rumble. With a punch, the fist formed a high-pressure shockwave that caused the air to explode. The terrifying shockwave tore away the grass in the wilderness, revealing a few km of bare soil. No changes. Luo Feng squinted his eyes and the skin on his entire body slightly shook like a wave. All the power in his body was instantly transferred to the end of his right hand. His fist. Taking advantage of the situation, Luo Feng fiercely released all the energy in his body, his fist smashing the air with an ear-piercing explosion. I feel it, I feel it. Deep within my cells there's a change. Luo Feng's eyes were filled with glee. This is the evolution of life? Every time a fleshly life form broke through a bottleneck, it would undergo a transition. Breaking through to the Star Traveler level, breaking through to the star level, breaking through to the universe level, the rest was just a matter of accumulation. My body is still at universe level 9. I haven't broken through the barrier, but my bones, muscles, and every cell in my body have changed. Luo Feng was excited and nervous at the same time because surpassing the 5 levels from Star Traveler to Sector Lord, the life form evolution was definitely not normal. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was miraculous in books. But the changes deep within his cells were something that even Luo Feng's spirit energy couldn't discern clearly. There's no other way, I can only slowly get used to it and feel it, slowly understand the changes. Luo Feng thought, after which he looked up at the night sky. So, he rushed into the sky and immediately broke through the cloud layer, reaching the 12th cloud level. I'll study the mysteries of my body's changes in the cloud layer. Luo Feng took out his blood shadow blade and began training in the clouds. Swallow Mound City Flying Cloud Pavilion, Luo Feng's residence. Even though he had consecutively killed 2 of Swallow Mound City's important people, Luo Feng was still leisurely training in his residence. As he was worried about destroying the pavilion, he specially used his spirit energy to form a barrier and trained within it. The shockwaves from his fists were all blocked by his spirit energy. Not only could he train his spirit energy, he could also train as much as he wanted. Miraculous. It's indeed miraculous. Luo Feng, who had already begun to feel the miraculous effects of the Blood River Crystal, was very excited. Suddenly, Luo Feng stopped and looked outside through the window. There were 2 people walking over. It was Nabu and Naku. I'll take a break. Elated, Luo Feng walked to the first level. Nabu and Naku had just walked out of the courtyard. Lord Feng? Come in. Luo Feng smiled and sat down. Lifting his wine glass, he poured himself a cup of Blood River World's local fruit wine and drank a mouthful. The cold feeling filled his entire body and he smiled comfortably. Why did you rush over so early in the morning? After finding out that Lord Feng had been captured by Rock Wind General, Cuckoo was so anxious that he jumped up. After that, I accompanied him to the prison to visit. Only then did I find out that Lord Feng had already been released. The silver-haired Nabu smiled. Hence, I came early in the morning to visit Lord Feng. Lord Feng, if you have any small problems, feel free to instruct me. Even though I don't have the ability to solve some big problems in Swallow Mound City, I can settle most of them. Thanks. Luo Feng smiled. However, there's nothing much right now. Naku. Naku replied, however his expression wasn't too good. What's going on? Luo Feng smiled and asked. Nabu could tell that this mysterious warrior was in a good mood today. He smiled and explained, Cuckoo, this child, he's met with some problems with his relationship, hence he's upset with himself. Relationship. Luo Feng laughed loudly. Naku, you've fallen out of love? What's falling out of love? Naku looked up at Luo Feng. It's when you're interested in her, but she's not interested in you. Luo Feng lifted his wine glass and drank happily. Right. Beside, Nabu smiled and rubbed his son's head. However, his son Naku dodged unhappily. Nabu smiled. It's just that she doesn't like him. Actually, speaking of it, Naku has given that girl a new lease of life. Thinking about the 2 of them, I want to laugh. A new lease of life? Luo Feng was shocked. Dad. Naku was unsatisfied. Nabu smiled and explained, this son of mine has always been kind. He likes to bring his guards to restaurants and other chaotic places. He often hears others talk about powerful people. This son of mine started to worship these heroes. Hence he learned from one of them. Some of the heroes robbed the rich to help the poor. He simply gave his family's money to the poor. One of them was a poor family with only 1 mother and 1 daughter. My son Cuckoo has always been secretly helping their family. As the girl grew up, Cuckoo grew older. I don't know why. This son of mine actually fell for that poor family's daughter. Ah. Luo Feng stared. Helping the poor, helping the poor, helping the girl he liked. Naku's face flushed. Not only that. My son has always been secretly giving money to the girl's mother. And he's always doing it behind her back. Nabu shook his head. That girl wanted to train and enter a sect in our city. My son immediately took a large sum of money and secretly gave it to her mother. Just like that, that poor family's girl from a pitiful little girl became a genius fighter in the sect. Behind the scenes, my son secretly helped her family for 12 years. And then? Luo Feng was curious. My son secretly fell in love with this girl. That's why he joined this sect. Nabu shook his head. It's a pity just yesterday my son went to confess and was rejected. Ah. Luo Feng laughed even more happily. Naku looked angrily at his father. Your father and Lord Feng, can't I speak a few words? Nabu stared at his son. Naku could only lower his head, his ears were flushed. Not only that. Nabu said, if this isn't interesting enough, just as my son was rejected and was walking towards the door dejectedly, that girl's mother came to the sect to see her daughter and saw my son. This was interesting. That girl's mother grabbed my son and was very excited, calling him a benefactor. Ah. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. That girl ran over. Seeing the situation, she was very curious and asked her mother what benefactor he was. Her mother told her honestly, saying that the one who had been helping her family was my son. Nabu laughed. This time that girl was dumbfounded and she couldn't believe it, saying that Naku wasn't even 20 yet, but the help had started over 10 years ago. Her mother said back then it was a rich family kid, under the protection of guards who secretly gave money to the poor families. She watched as this rich family kid grew up. Nabu exclaimed, who would have thought, a child's playful attitude actually led to such a scene. What happened next? Luo Feng smiled curiously. How did that girl treat Naku? That girl was very courageous and grateful. Nabu said, that girl directly told my son, that you have done a great favor for our family, I'm willing to be your slave even if you want, I'll marry you. Ah, everyone's happy. Luo Feng laughed. It hasn't ended yet. Nabu laughed and said, my son asked me in a very stylish manner, do you like me? And that girl said, my thoughts are all on the martial path and I don't have anyone I like. However, the favor you have done for my family, I have no way to repay it. Nabu said, after she finished, my son said, I Naku won't force anyone. If you don't like me, I won't force you either. After which, my son immediately turned and left with his guards. Ah. Nabu finished and couldn't help but laugh loudly. Interesting. Luo Feng laughed too. Father. The youth Naku's face was flushed red, extremely embarrassed and furious. Not bad Naku, not bad. Luo Feng smiled and praised. Naku gripped his fist, saying seriously, I won't force anyone, however one day I'll make her like me. Saying that he raised his head, almost as though he was filled with fighting spirit. Ambitious. Luo Feng couldn't hide his smile anymore, laughing along with Nabu beside him. Luo Feng continued to study for half a month. Only 2 days had passed on Blood River continent. He finally had a grasp of the benefits of absorbing the crystal. The mysterious energy of the crystal was infused deep into the body's cells, fundamentally causing the body's genes to undergo a special evolution, causing every cell to be infused with a special energy. This energy wasn't genetic energy or spirit energy, it was an unknown energy. As long as he activated this energy. Standing on the second level of the pavilion, Luo Feng's upper body was bare. He snorted softly and through the fine control of his cells, along with the countless connections from before, he activated that unknown energy. Immediately, a seemingly simple yet incredibly mysterious blood-red engraving appeared on Luo Feng's chest. When it appeared on the surface of his skin, Luo Feng felt as though the world was different. How beautiful! Luo Feng closed his eyes. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, time, space. The many universe origin laws, before he absorbed the crystal, even the space and gold that he had some accomplishments in, Luo Feng's spirit energy felt blurry and couldn't compare to the golden horned beast or the Masha clansman. However, when he activated the engraving on his chest, that feeling became clearer. Even his control of the origin laws became easier. Broken dream, Luo Feng waved his blade, that bleak blade light was heart-shattering. World's end path, endless blade light, able to block 10 million enemies. Hate unquenchable, an incomparably fierce blade light, able to cut through everything that blocked it. Nonging like a drunkard randomly waving his blade, yet also like countless blade shadows floating about. Leisurely, a blurry silhouette accompanied by a blurry blade light. Burial, infused with the will to die, the blade light was heart palpitating. Dutchman's pipe, dancing between life and death, only hoping for a brief moment before death. Luo Feng didn't use his genetic energy, just unleashing his blade techniques within the pavilion. His spirit energy formed a barrier, at least ensuring that his blade techniques wouldn't destroy the surrounding buildings. This feeling is beautiful. Luo Feng opened his eyes. The Blood River Crystal is too powerful. The Blood River Crystal's use was similar to the Masha clansman's body. Even though the Masha clansman's comprehension was lower, it could still unleash shocking power. Moreover, comprehending the laws of origin of space would also be much easier. After fusing with the crystal, not only did he feel space, he could feel gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, space and time much more clearly. Or it could be said that after fusing with the crystal, his connection with the origin energy of the universe was much tighter, and it was much easier to feel. The senses were clearer, causing the earth deity's comprehension speed to increase in the future. Because the closer one was to the universe's origin source, the more powerful one's nomological attacks were. For example, the Masha clan's clone could only use the 100-thread art, but with the same comprehension, the Masha clan's clone could use the 10-thread art. What a pity. The Masha clan's doppelganger space-type secret technique increases its power by 10 times. Fusing with the Blood River crystal, its power only increases by 20 to 30%. Luo Feng smiled. I can't be too greedy. The Masha clansmen are after all the strongest assassins in the universe. How could they be a joke? The reason the Blood River crystal was so heaven-defying was that it could increase one's sensitivity to the laws. Furthermore, the power of every law he used had increased. Absorbing one crystal could raise one's attack by 20 to 30%. Blood Warrior? Black Warrior? Luo Feng pondered. Since there's the legend of the Blood Warrior and Black Warrior, I estimate that after absorbing 3, there'll be special changes. After absorbing 10, there'll be even more shocking changes. Blood River crystals, I'll have to get them now, the more the better. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. The Masha clansman was born with it, however absorbing the crystals was equivalent to creating a being comparable to the Masha clansman. Of course, the further the crystals were absorbed, the harder it got. Otherwise, the Black Warrior wouldn't have become a mere legend. Tonight, I'll go deal with the city leader. Luo Feng's eyes were cold. He's the one with the most crystals in Swallow Mound City. Swallow Mound City, General's residence. The city leader Xiong stood with a gloomy expression on the balcony. Behind him stood the 8 upper echelons of the army respectfully. Speak, where's the general? Xiong said seriously. I've ordered him to go over, but he hasn't? They came to find him. Where did he go? Where did he go? His fair-weather friend Pure Feather Xiong is dead and he's still fooling around? Back then, Zhan and Pure Feather Xiong were indeed the two who played the most crazily. All sorts of despicable acts were too many to count. Plus one was the head of the Pure Feather family and the other was the general of Swallow Mound City. Who would dare mess with them in Swallow Mound City? City leader, we don't know either. We don't even know about the general's disappearance this time. Right, I think the general wanted to play in secret, hence he didn't tell us. The 8 upper echelons said. This bastard. Xiong was fuming. Send the order, the moment the general is discovered, tell him to scram to me. Yes. The 8 upper echelons replied respectfully, after which Xiong's silhouette vanished. At this time the 8 of them let out a sigh of relief, discussing, what's going on? The general often goes out to cause trouble, but I've never seen the city leader this angry before. He's only disappeared for 2 to 3 days in the past, disappearing for 10 days to half a month was common. I don't know, but from the looks of it, the city leader has a stomach full of rage. The general is in trouble. The general was indeed in trouble because the general was already dead. Late at night, Luo Feng stood in the quiet room of his loft. He changed into his black armor, put on his boots, put on his helmet, and even covered his face with his mask. On his back was a shield and a blood shadow blade. City leader Xiong, Domain Lord Level 2, he's absorbed a Blood River crystal. Luo Feng thought, even though my domain and origin laws far surpass him, he is after all a domain lord, I can't be careless. Against Pure Feather Xiong, Luo Feng wore a black robe. Against General he wore a normal robe. It was very casual. Only this time, he was fully equipped including the mask. Because Luo Feng was clear, unless he used his clones, if he just relied on his earth body, this battle would be much more difficult. If it's not difficult, then it'd be boring. Only when I fight higher levels will it be interesting. Luo Feng smiled, after which his body became a blur and he vanished from the pavilion. Swallow Mound City leader's residence, majestic and strict. A demonic silhouette in the dark swiftly headed towards the city leader Xiong's location. As the strongest warrior in the city leader's residence, Xiong naturally didn't use cloud level, universe level, or sky level, star level, underlings as bodyguards. Illusionary techniques are more suited for assassination. And I'm after all only a universe level 9. If I fight him head-on, I'll probably be at a disadvantage. If I can assassinate him, that would be great. Luo Feng looked at the distant palace. He could feel through the universe space that familiar energy, that was Xiong's energy. So, Luo Feng wielded the blood shadow blade and immediately vanished. Within the palace, the tall and sturdy Xiong sat in front of his desk. There were many reports and information on it. Xiong couldn't help but slam the table and stand up. He paced back and forth in the study room frowning. My senior brother and that Envoy Mo, it's rare for them to visit me. I originally wanted to introduce little brother to senior brother and Envoy Mo. I didn't expect that bastard to actually vanish. No matter how hard I tried, they've already been here for 3 days, they'll be leaving soon. If I still can't find my brother, I'm afraid it'll be a long time before my brother meets the envoys again. Bastard, what a bastard. Xiong got angrier the more he thought about it. These few days, was it easy to entertain the 2 envoys? They were all treated with the best of the best. Xiong's sensitive senses allowed him to feel a sense of energy. He immediately roared, "Who?" Rumble. With Xiong as the center, countless bolts of lightning emanated in all directions, strangely passing through the palace without harming it at all, immediately forming a huge ball of lightning in a 1-kilometer area. Some of the soldiers, servants and maids were extremely shocked. However, they realized that the lightning didn't harm them at all. However, they all ran in fear towards the huge ball of lightning. Xiong. A blade light immediately flashed within the palace, almost like a huge sickle slicing towards Xiong. At this time one could vaguely see a warrior completely covered in black armor waving his blade. Scram! Rock Wind Xiong roared, a purple sledgehammer appeared in his hands, smashing forward with a rumble. The lightning infused with terrifying lightning energy smashed over, blasting the black armored silhouette away. The explosive energy was like countless arrows shooting in all directions. Immediately the entire palace exploded with a rumble. Rock Wind Xiong's eyes gleamed coldly, with a purple sledgehammer in each hand, he rushed out of the collapsed palace. He's indeed a Domain Lord level 2, Domain level 9, stepping into the gates of the lightning laws. Luo Feng spat out a mouthful of fresh blood as he was blasted out, however his body recovered in a blink of an eye, his gaze was still calm and cold. Relying on speed. Kill him. Shwa. Rock Wind Xiong who had just rushed out was about to roar. You? However in an instant, an incomparably condensed golden domain emanated out, space and gold fused together, connecting to the terrifying domain formed by the universe space pressure. This golden domain was like a solid golden wave, almost as though it was one with the universe space, immediately pressuring and destroying the lightning domain. Simultaneously around Rock Wind Xiong, 100 black armored warriors appeared, every one of them wielding a hexagonal shield and a blood shadow blade. Absolute Domain, Time-Space Scribbles 2891 Technique. Chaotic Space Kill. Luo Feng thought within. Space Origin Laws. Rock Wind Xiong wielding his purple sledgehammers was shocked when he saw this. Rock Wind Xiong, his teacher was the World Lord, Sector Lord, Xiong who controlled the surrounding 1 billion kilometers area. Even in Blood River World where the strong were as common as clouds, a Sector Lord was still a terrifying being. Rock Wind Xiong was under Xiong's tutelage, hence his knowledge was much higher. With one look, he could tell that this mysterious warrior before him was a genius with high attainments in the space origin laws. He was actually able to unleash over 100 images. Just a universe level 9 and he's so powerful it's simply too. Rock Wind Xiong understood, if such a genius was discovered by the Undying Shrine, he would definitely be nurtured as an elite. It's a pity he's an enemy. The more terrifying the enemy is, the more I have to destroy him. Rock Wind Xiong stood in his original position, wielding his hammers without moving. Luo Feng who was unleashing the close combat technique Chaotic Space Kill couldn't help but be shocked. He is after all a Domain Lord level 2. Just based on the pure explosive speed of his energy he should be able to survive my move. Why isn't he moving at all? While suspicious, Luo Feng felt a sense of caution within. Wah. The hundreds of illusory body saber techniques were cold and strange. Together with the golden domain that was spreading out, the entire space seemed to be dancing with the saber techniques. In an instant the saber light seemed to form a shelf of the entire space. It supported the entire space and directly pressed towards Rock Wind Xiong. At the same time the space was shrinking and the saber light was also shrinking. When Rock Wind Xiong was trapped, it was as though he was trapped in a small house, being killed by large amounts of blade lights. Time-Space Scribbles didn't have a name. Chaotic Space Kill was a name Luo Feng made up himself. Ha ha. Loud laughter resounded. Rock Wind Xiong stood in place, almost as though he was admiring LuoFeng's performance. Rise. Rock Wind Xiong's lips curled into a smile. At the same time, countless hidden weapons floated around his body. There were at least a few thousand hidden weapons, densely surrounding Rock Wind Xiong. Every hidden weapon shone with a cold metallic luster under the illumination of the lightning. The curved blade sent chills down people's spines. What? LuoFeng's expression changed. He originally wanted to rely on speed to kill his opponent. However, to compete with spirit weapons in terms of speed? That was suicide. Go. Rock Wind Xiong waved his hand, and instantly, countless curved hidden weapons shot out in all directions. Although the 100-thread flow movement technique was very shocking, and made it hard for people to determine the exact location of the real body, but when countless hidden weapons were shot out, it would be terrible. Although, because of the large number of hidden weapons, the power was weak. However, the opponent was Domain Lord level 2, any one of his weapons could kill a normal universe level 9. Dang. LuoFeng's silhouette was unpredictable, but there were simply too many hidden weapons. The hexagonal shield in his hand continuously blocked dozens of hidden weapons. Even though most of the force was dissipated, it still affected his movement. Haha. Rock Wind Xiong's laughter hadn't even finished, when the other flying weapons all changed directions and flew towards Luo Feng. Thousands of spirit energy weapons shot over at the same time, the air shook and exploded. LuoFeng's expression sunk, his eyes staring coldly at Rock Wind Xiong. A formless consciousness pressure, fiercely collided with Rock Wind Xiong's consciousness. Rock Wind Xiong only felt his head hurt. The thousands of hidden weapons that were originally controlled by his consciousness immediately lost control. Without the help of spirit energy, these hidden weapons swiftly weakened under the strong air resistance and shocking gravity. And these hidden weapons still followed the inertia and shot forward, allowing Luo Feng to easily dodge them. Hidden weapons that could change direction at any time, and those that just blindly shot in one direction, naturally the latter was easier to dodge. Shwa. Luo Feng dodged the hidden weapons. Luo Feng rushed towards Rock Wind Xiong. Die. Luo Feng had already reached before Rock Wind Xiong. The blood shadow blade in his hand became an incomparably resplendent blade light, slicing straight at Rock Wind Xiong's chest. Killing a universe level and killing a domain lord were two different concepts. From a student to a universe level, The soul was always within the consciousness, hence the microchip could only be used to control universe-level warriors. The highest level of slave trading was universe-level slaves. And domain lords, their souls were within the singularity. This singularity was also known as the life core. Like Luo Feng, his singularity was one with the core, causing his core to be incomparably sturdy. Breaking through the shackles of the core would be extremely difficult. To kill a domain lord, one had to destroy the life core. However, the life core could exist anywhere in the body. It could be in the head, consciousness, dantian, even in the arms, chest, etc. Hence, to kill a domain lord, one had to first confirm the location of the life core. The consciousness attack from before allowed Luo Feng to confirm the location. Dang. A golden light clashed against Luo Feng's blade light. Damn it. Luo Feng's expression changed, looking at the gloomy and crazy Rockwind Xiong. His own consciousness was at the pinnacle of domain lord, and Rockwind Xiong too had a domain lord level consciousness. Even though it was much weaker than his, they were still domain lords. One consciousness attack only affected him for a moment. Consciousness pressure, only when the difference in level was huge would the effect be obvious. Rockwind Xiong stared angrily at Luo Feng. Simultaneously 3 golden lights revolved around him, attacking Luo Feng. How painful when a fighter meets a spirit reader. It's already difficult, and he's a spirit reader that's a few levels higher than me. Luo Feng understood within that he couldn't win, no matter how strong his comprehension of the origin laws, no matter how powerful his movements. Under the attacks of the spirit weapons that covered the sky and land, he might still have a chance of winning. However, if the opponent was a few levels higher than him, how could he fight? Even if the golden horned beast didn't train in deities of the world and other techniques, just based on its talent, it could at most fight against a human fighter 3 levels higher, and sweep through a human fighter 2 levels higher. Xiong. The 3 golden lights were as fast as lightning. No matter how fast Luo Feng was, he couldn't dodge them. One golden light immediately pierced through Luo Feng's throat, piercing through. Simultaneously the sharp energy immediately turned his head into mush. Plop. Luo Feng fell. What a terrifying consciousness. Who is he? His consciousness is even stronger than mine, and his comprehension of the origin laws is so high. Rockwind Xiong walked to the corpse. Looking at it, he was shocked. It's a pity a universe level 9 actually dares to kill me. He's really looking for death. Let me see just who is it. With a thought, he took off the helmet and lifted it up, revealing the face of a young man. How do you do? The youth suddenly opened his eyes. They were apologetic. Ah. Rockwind Xiong stared wide-eyed and lowered his head. His chest had already been pierced by a blade. It pierced straight into his life core. It's a pity his life core was only that of a normal human. It wasn't as sick as the golden horned beasts. Actually, countless humans' life cores were very weak. How could they compare to the golden horned beast that was born with an internal world? When the golden horned beast was at the domain lord level, its internal world exceeded 100,000 kilometers. It was much bigger than Earth. And normal human domain lords had only just begun to nurture their internal world. The true birth of the internal world was at the sector lord level. To carry such a huge internal world, wouldn't the core be tough? The domain lord level 6 golden horned beast, its core, even domain lord level 6 warriors would find it hard to break through. Just like back then when Hong and Thunder God entered the golden horned beast's body, burning their souls and using spears and blades to attack the core, they couldn't break it. The sector lord pinnacle golden horned beast was still an invincible being amongst the sector lords. However, even with its 3 natural talents, even with its inherited memories, even with the heavens treating you well, there would always be difficulties. This caused many generations of golden horned beasts to be stuck at the pinnacle of sector lords, unable to break through. You. Rockwind Xiong stared wide-eyed. Simultaneously his entire body went limp and he knelt down, fresh blood flowing out of his chest. You stood before me without any wariness. In an instant I attacked. You couldn't even react. Luo Feng stood up. His throat no longer had any wounds, simultaneously putting on his mask, afraid of revealing his identity and affecting Nabu and Nako. The eyes that were revealed through the mask looked at Rockwind Xiong's corpse. I don't blame you. I'm afraid not many would have thought a universe level with his consciousness completely destroyed would still be alive. Luo Feng looked at the corpse before him, shaking his head. Originally he didn't want to use any special abilities to kill his opponent. He wanted to use his universe level 9 to fight. However, he didn't expect this Rockwind Xiong to be a spirit reader. His final assassination attempt was a little unfair. It's a pity I didn't bring the Nanshan armament. If I had the Nanshan armament, my strength would rise by many times. Killing him would be a certainty. Luo Feng shook his head. My earth body is indeed not suited for close combat. Following which Luo Feng squatted down and swiftly inspected the corpse, searching for his target, the storage item. That's it. Luo Feng immediately discovered an ornamental tag on Rockwind Xiong's belt. Immediately taking it down, this metal tag was a storage item. Let's hope there are blood river crystals, the more the better. LuoFeng's spirit energy immediately drilled into it and began to search. At this time, the 1-kilometer area around the palace was a mess. The palace was in pieces, the surrounding walkways were broken, many of the pavilions were in ruins, especially in the center. There was a corpse, Rockwind Xiong's corpse, and the black armored warrior who took the tag off the body and stood there coldly. Not bad. Luo Feng revealed a smile. There are 2 blood river crystals. Rockwind Xiong had once absorbed a blood river crystal. He had thought of ways and means to get the other 2, hoping that one day he could become a blood warrior. Later on he coincidentally got one more, hence giving it to his brother Zhan. Killing and stealing, how vicious. A cold voice resounded throughout the land and skies. Luo Feng turned to look. In the air, there were two figures dressed in silver-gray armor. Both of them had extremely ugly expressions on their faces.